Hello friends, what's up? So I made the biggest mistake and I forgot to record an intro. I swear I did this in my last video, but today's video is just going to be me talking about how I like to apply my foundation and concealer and not have it be cakey. Yes, let's do it. So let's get right into this. I already have my list ready to go. I made this to make sure that I don't forget a thing, and I wanted to make sure I go step by step because I think the steps matter as well. The first step would be to have a clean slate basically, and that for me means like exfoliating. I only exfoliate maybe once every 2 weeks or something like that. I don't exfoliate too much, but I do recommend it just because it helps to get rid of all the dead skin cells on your face, and then it also will help makeup go on more smooth. And then a second thing for more smooth makeup application, I would suggest, so I've only been doing this for about a year and I've told you guys this before, I would suggest shaving the baby hairs off of your face. And no, this does not make them grow back thicker or anything. You guys can do your own research on that, but I would suggest doing that, and I do it maybe like once a month, and sometimes I forget. I have blonde peach fuzz on my face, so it doesn't really bother me that much. You can't really see it, but when I'm applying my makeup, sometimes it kind of like sticks to the peach fuzz and it doesn't go on as smooth, so I would recommend doing that as well. I have this, which is, I believe they're called like flamingo razors, or if you just Google peach fuzz razors or something, like they come in a pack of 6 or something for like $2-3. And then there's also this one, and this is called the Derma Flash. I've used this before. It's actually out of battery right now, and it's kind of like a mechanical one. So this one you can get at Sephora. This one if you want a cheaper alternative. They both work basically the same. So today I'm going to use this, and I am going to just show you guys how I do this. I think I've done a video on this before. So basically what I do is I hold the top of my skin, like kind of to hold it tight, and I lightly, with a very light hand, you guys don't want to press really hard, and like do like small feathery strokes like this, and that's what I'm gonna do. And I just do small feather strokes like this, just very lightly, not pressing hard at all. This blade is not that sharp. It's not gonna like cut you. And obviously you want to make sure that you do this with a clean face, so make sure to wash your face beforehand. Also guys, facial hair is nothing to be embarrassed about, especially for girls. Like, it's nothing to be embarrassed about. Everybody has it. You can get rid of it. It's not a big deal, or you can keep it. That's also not a big deal. It's all personal preference when it comes to these things. So my biggest area, I will just tell you guys, is like my chin and like right under my lip. I feel like I get the most peach fuzz. It's so crazy, like, and you can like see it in the sun. It drives me insane. It's like a little goatee without being a it's like super blonde and very, very small thin hair. So I always make sure to get that because so after you're done that, you want to make sure you wash your face. Once again, have a clean slate. You don't want to have any like bacteria or anything to go on your face. And then step 2 is going to be all about like skincare, moisturizing and all that. I honestly do believe that having a good skincare routine and prepping your skin nicely beforehand will make sure that your foundation doesn't get too cakey. Like for me, when I'm having bad skin days, I also usually have bad makeup or foundation days, just because my skin is just not acting right basically. So I always make sure to moisturize my face beforehand, well before, whether that be a facial oil like the Tarte Maracuja oil. There's Maracuja oil. There's the Farsali. Which one am I going to use today? You have so many options. I'm going to use the Farsali Unicorn Essence. I've already moisturized my face with a moisturizer, but I'm also going to prep my skin with this, and this is like essentially like a dry oil for the face, and that's what I kind of want because I don't really like my face to be super oily. And obviously normally if my forehead was showing, I would be applying it on my forehead too. And then for under eye moisturizer or under eye cream, I never used to use under eye cream before, and then I slowly started to, and I realized I should have been using it a lot sooner. So this is the Ole Henrik Banana Eye Brightening Cream. It has kind of like a yellow tint to it, which is supposed to kind of combat the dark circles under your eyes. So I'm just gonna place this under my eyes and blend it out. I know you're supposed to pat in eye cream, but patting just takes too much work. So we got that on, and now we're just gonna let that sit on your face. Usually I let it sit for like, when I wash my face, what I'll do is I'll put on my moisturizer, and then maybe I'll change or I'll gather all my makeup together, and by then about 10 or 15 minutes has passed by, and that gives your skin time for like to soak everything in before you put on next products. Step number 3 is primer. Primer is so important. I see some people that put on makeup without primer sometimes, and I'm like, oh, you go, because I don't trust my makeup, and and I don't feel good about my makeup unless I put on primer. Sometimes I accidentally start my foundation and I have to go wash it off because I'm like, no, I need primer. There's a lot of good primers out there. I used this in my last video. It's the Marc Jacobs like coconut primer. I liked it, but the problem with this one is that it's like a moisturizer type of primer for me. I like silicone-y, thicker primers to fill my pores in. So you guys know that Tarte Clean Slate is my favorite. Other ones like the Smashbox one, which is really good. L'Oreal actually has a dupe for the Tarte Clean Slate, if you guys didn't know. If you go look for a L'Oreal primer, it comes in a kind of like container like this, and it looks almost exactly the same. It also performs almost the same. And then we have the Benefit Porefessional, which this is not as thick as the Tarte, but it does get the job done. But because this is like a 100% foolproof look, I have to use my Tarte. And what I like to do with this is, because it's so thick, I like to make sure I apply it right in my problem areas first. I kind of like tap it and blend it out at the same time, and then just like blend it off to the rest of my cheeks. Also going to prime right here on my chin. Step number 4 is also important, and I feel like a lot of people skip this step, and you guys have probably noticed me doing this step more in like the last few videos, and that is to color correct your face before putting on any foundation or concealer. And this will prevent you from like putting on too much concealer and too much foundation. For under eyes, my favorite is the Smashbox color correcting stick, and this is an orange color, and I like to place this right under my eyes, and this is where a lot of my darkness is. And I don't put a lot. Sometimes on Instagram I see, like for Instagram video purposes, I see girls going like in, but I don't put a lot just because it's actually gonna end up like, if you put too much, it's gonna end up showing through your concealer or foundation, and you don't want that. So you just put a little bit. Oh, you guys, my nose is itchy. And then I like to take my finger and blend it out, because I also feel like this picks up any excess product, and it also kind of blends it into your skin a lot more seamlessly. And that's the goal. We don't want anything to just kind of sit on top of the face. Step number 5 is making sure to pick the right foundation for your skin type. So the foundation that I may use today may not work for you, and the foundation that you use may not work for me, and this does take trial and error, but finding a foundation that works for your skin type will make sure that it doesn't react badly. So like if I'm oily and I end up using a super oily foundation, my skin will get oily throughout the day. And if I'm dry and I end up using a super dry foundation, my foundation will look even more cakey. So you have to make sure you kind of like test the waters out. There's a bunch of options. There's drugstore and obviously high-end. My favorite drugstore ones are the L'Oreal True Matte, and they also came out with the True Lumi formulation. So if you want matte or luminous, you can pick between that. Maybelline 24 Hour, it's like a full coverage, really good foundation actually. And then CoverGirl just came out with new foundations as well, and they're also matte. And then Wet n Wild, the photo focus is really good. Today I want to use something that I know will work 100%, and that for me is the NARS, what is this? The NARS Radiant something, right? Radiant, the new one. We're almost done, you guys. I'm just like, this video takes just a lot of talking. Step number 6 is a very important step now that we're actually applying the makeup. This step is super important, and that is making sure you apply the thinnest layer of foundation and then work your way up. You do not want to start off with a lot of foundation all at once. That's what leads to a lot of cakiness. I'm going to start off with just 1 pump on the back of my hand, and 1 pump of this foundation is this much. When you put 2 or 3 pumps on your hand, you end up using all of it. So start off with a little bit and then work your way up. You can always add more, but remember, taking off foundation, taking away will be a lot harder. So always start with a little bit. I used to just go in with like a straight full 2 pumps on one side, hoping that it would just cover everything, but it ended up always looking worse because cakiness ends up bringing out the imperfections on your face. I talk way too much, eh? I've been loving a brush like this to blend out my foundation. Oops, I'm sorry. Usually my phone's on silent. So I'm just gonna go in and tap this foundation very lightly, just on top of the bristles. I don't want it to go super deep inside. Super light hand. So that means even if you have to hold it like this from the very back of the brush, super light hand. And I'm starting from away from my problem area, if that makes sense, because I told you guys I get cakey most up here, and I think most people do. I'm gonna start from the bottom here and then lightly, as you guys can see, I'm like lightly brushing it, and I'm just gonna go in circular motions. What we're trying to do is blend it in so nicely that it just goes into our skin and it doesn't sit on top. And I'm also avoiding the area where I'm gonna put my concealer concealer because since I'm gonna be putting on concealer, I don't already want like a foundation layer on it. So as you guys can see, this side compared to this side, you can already see such a big difference, and you guys saw how little foundation I took. So another thing that a lot of people like to do, and it totally makes sense, and that is to apply concealer onto your problem areas before you apply your foundation. And that's good and all, and I used to do it at one point, but the issue that I was having with that is because the concealer is already so thick, I would put the foundation on over top, so wherever my problem areas were, it ended up still being a little bit too much product. So what I like to do is, obviously I like to go in with my foundation first, and then if I still need coverage after that, then I go in with concealer and I put on like the tiniest amount, because then I know exactly how much I need to conceal. Then it's time for concealer, of course. I'm gonna use my Tarte Shape Tape concealer. I love this concealer, honestly. It's like, it covers my entire, like it covers everything I need to. It is a super thick coverage, It is a super thick, full coverage concealer. So what I do with this, before I used to go whoop, 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 make a big triangle and fill it in. But honestly with this, you don't need that. And I learned that the hard way. I honestly put 1, 2, and 3 wherever I need it. I don't know why my nose is so itchy. I'm gonna just go in back with that same brush and stipple it into my under eye area. And then in my inner corner, I like to always tap using my finger. Can you guys see the difference on this eye compared to this eye? That's freaking crazy. But also when looking at it close up, it does not look cakey at all. It looks so smooth. And because I didn't over apply the product, I don't feel like I need to take any away, because honestly you guys, super full coverage and cakiness, I'm not gonna lie, sometimes for Instagram pictures, if I'm just taking a picture for Instagram, because that's my life, I do cake on the foundation, because in pictures and in videos, the cakier the foundation, well not cakier, but if it's cakey, it doesn't look bad. If anything, it looks better because you have so much makeup on. And I just feel more confident when I know my skin doesn't look cakey. Like, I feel like cakey foundation is the worst, or cakey concealer is just the worst thing ever. It makes you feel like shit. So once all of this is applied on, I take a damp beauty blender, super lightly, just tap it all over your face. And what this is gonna do is help blend everything together. It's kind of gonna melt everything into your skin. I feel like obviously a lot of you guys may already know this. You never want to put on powder when your face is wet, because it's gonna stick to the wet like product that you have on your face. Once again, making it cakey, making it look like it's patchy and stuff. So I'm gonna like let this set on my face for a little bit. Maybe even if you have a fan, use a fan and let that set it, because nobody has time. Oh my god, that feels so good. So now what we're going to do is go back and we're gonna set our face. So I used to bake a lot, and I did love baking. I feel like it made my skin underneath it just made my skin look super good in pictures. But I was finding that for me personally, it was drying out my skin way too much, especially under the eye area. It was just looking super cakey and dry under there. So I don't bake like a mad person anymore. I've been recently liking my Patrick Star MAC Cosmetics setting powder. I'm not gonna put on a lot. I'm just going to kind of like put it in there and then tap it off, and then look up and just set in my under eyes. Once again, not using a lot of product. You don't need that much powder to set your makeup. Like if you were trying to set a wet or cream product, you don't need the baking amount of powder, if that makes sense. Baking is like something completely different than settings. And then for the face, you always have options depending on your mood, depending on where you're going. You could set your face with like a colored powder or like a foundation powder kind of situation. You can set it with the setting powder depending on how you like it. I personally, if I look at myself and I feel like I don't need any more coverage, I like to just go in with my setting powder, because I feel like that's just like, makes sense. So I usually just end up going in with the same brush that I use under my eye. I'm gonna go in with my MAC Fix Plus, whatever setting spray you have, spray it on my beauty blender, go in and kind of blend everything into the skin. Because we just put powder on, we don't want the powder to just sit on top of our skin. Now I'm gonna let this dry. I'm also gonna zoom you guys in just so you can look at my skin right now. Take a look at my skin. Obviously it's not like the smoothest because nobody has perfect skin, let's be real. But you guys, you can't really see like cakiness. Like, I don't think you can see cakiness as in like, you know when your skin is kind of like flaking off and it just looks gross? You can't tell. Like, you really can't tell. So now what I'm quickly going to do is just finish off my makeup using my bronzer and my highlight and my blush. And those things I feel like don't really make your face cakey at all because we don't usually apply a lot of it. So I'm just going to do that off camera and then I will be right back with the final look. Alright guys, so that's it. I finished off my face. I used my regular bronzer, my Tarte bronzer, my Tarte blush, and then for lips, I used the Huda Beauty lip pencil in Bombshell. I used the MAC lipstick in Twig, and then on top, I put a lip gloss, and that was the the Patrick Star She Better Work. It's kind of like a pale pink lip gloss or lip glass from MAC, whatever. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. I hope it was like informative. I haven't done an informative type of video in a very long time, so I'm not sure if you guys like these kind of videos. Let me know for sure. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.